a lot of organizations have really struggled with social media. Not so much because it doesn't offer opportunities, but almost because it offers too many opportunities. And of course, there are very few organizations where you find people sort of sitting around waiting for yet another thing to do. And so with the advent of social media, what happens in government and business is that already overloaded leaders often experience social media as one more thing to do. And so instead of embracing it, they kind of push it off because it feels overwhelming.
Yeah, but you're saying they shouldn't feel that way, that it's important for CEOs, high-level people to get involved in social media? I think a lot of people think it feels pretty frivolous.
Well, I think what we've seen is that the organizations who've had the biggest impact and the biggest positive impact from social media are those where an embrace goes all the way up to the top, and where it's not just shuffled off to a team and customer relations, but actually embraced by an organization as a whole way of doing business, a way of really being open and engaging with customers. And that only happens when the C-level suite is engaged in buying into the project of social media. And for that to happen, those executives need to be using social media themselves. And that really depends on them finding a way to use it that actually makes their work easier instead of harder.
Yeah. I don't, Neil. I find it a pretty useful tool in a lot of ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, you're big on Twitter and Facebook and all that, and you've got thousands of followers. But I would think, as you were saying, for a CEO, they're used to delegating essentially. And I think here's one situation that if you delegate, you delegate somebody else to do your Twitters or your, Facebook updates, whatever, it perhaps comes off as inauthentic. So you really do have to do it yourself. And I think that's probably, especially for some older CEOs, a real cultural shift that they have to go through.
Well, but we should point out that the CEO of News Corp, which owns Dow Jones and the Wall Street Journal, Rupert Murdoch, has been very active on Twitter since about the first of the year.
He has, and he makes controversial comments and gets a lot of feedback.
And my sense is he enjoys it precisely because it's a way around all those people who work for him who would otherwise edit his.
And I just wonder if the majority of CEOs would feel the same way.
He may be unique, you think?
Well, I think it is different in the media, and I think CEOs in other sectors have a harder time seeing the reason to leap in. And yet, there are opportunities to, reinforce your goals, get more focused. For example, one of the things I recommend is setting up like a Pinterest community for your team so that people can actually collaboratively build a sort of set of inspiration that keeps them on the same page. Or creating a dashboard for yourself as a leader so that you're getting continued reinforcement of ways to be a better leader, ideas about business management styles, ideas from people who you respect in other fields, and that those can become resources that reinforce your leadership. So even if you don't think of yourself as a forward or an outward-looking CEO, even if you don't want to be Rupert Murdoch and tweeting, you can still use these tools to make yourself a better and smarter CEO.
Yeah, well, it's both a good way of communicating and it's a good way of keeping an eye on the brand. I mean, one of the things I do every day or most days is search WSJ on Twitter just to see what people are talking about. What have we published that's sort of generating some buzz and so forth.